Stepping up and choosing to honor your own self-care is neurologically necessary. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't keep giving your best self to others if you don't fill up your own cup from time to time. That includes adequate and sometimes additional rest, activities that give you pleasure, some support of your own, and space to heal. Not just after you hit a wall and start feeling the signs of compassion fatigue, and I'll talk about more about that in just a second. When you constantly put yourself before others and suppress your own needs, you make your brain a very unhappy camper. Most of us are willing to jump in and help someone we care about through something hard without a second thought. Many of us will do it for someone we hardly or don't even know. I think we've all done it at least once or twice. Stayed up late, made the meal, sat through the phone call or had the text conversation. Just held space for someone dealing with something tough. But I'm going to ask you today, what about when it comes to yourself? When it's time to care for you? You hesitate, you feel guilty, you wonder if you're being selfish, or you even feel guilty sometimes just for resting. Yep, been there. Bought the t-shirt and waved the friggin' martyr flag myself. But I've learned the hard way that choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. No, it's essential, especially when no one else is choosing you. And today on Transformative Journeys, we'll be unpacking the guilt that so many of us feel when it comes to choosing ourselves. Let's talk about what it means to prioritize our own healing, even when guilt seeps in, even when it feels like everyone else needs us more, when it feels uncomfortable, and even when it means saying no to someone else for once. So let's dig into that. You know how life throws us curveballs? Well, I believe in the incredible human capacity to heal and grow from life's challenges. We all face adversity in life, whether it's dealing with loss, overcoming personal challenges, or navigating mental wellness. Nobody gets through the journey of life without a few storms. Welcome to Transformative Journeys. I'm your host, Joanna LaRue, and through various challenges on my journey, including the devastating loss of my son in a workplace tragedy in 2006, I navigated a messy path towards healing and rebuilding my life. It's been a journey of self-discovery that has taught me invaluable lessons about coping, healing, and transforming my experiences into tools for personal growth. Each week, I'll share my thoughts and insights and dig into strategies that can empower you to rediscover yourself, learn about transforming pain into power, build confidence to navigate life's challenges, and cultivate a life of meaning and joy. Join me on this journey of exploration and transformation. Hit that subscribe button on your favorite platform and tap the bell icon to be notified when new episodes drop. And if you heard something on this podcast that helped you, and you feel like tossing a little love into my metaphorical duct tape fund, you can now support the show at buymeacoffee.com/transformative journeys. Welcome back to Transformative Journeys with Joanna. And well, still Joanna here. In episode 6, we talked about what to do when your fuzzy socks aren't fixing it anymore and why self-care, not just coping, is essential to healing. In episode 8, I explored lessons I wish I'd learned much younger, from self-love to resilience, from people-pleasing to kissing too many toads, and ultimately how learning to jettison at least some of my baggage is helping me to heal. In episode 10, we started talking about boundaries. Yep, no matter how hard it is to establish some, you need them. And in episode 11, we tackled saying no without guilt. Yep, that's a tough one too. Today we're going to be connecting the dots, because here's a truth bomb about all those things. You're allowed to choose yourself, and you don't need to apologize for it. So why does choosing ourselves feel so friggin' uncomfortable? Why do we feel guilty for prioritizing ourselves? Well, let's be real, first of all. Most of us were never taught how to give ourselves the same compassion as we give to others. Many of us weren't even taught how to be comfortable receiving compassion. We get all awkward and feel like we need to suppress our pain and put on a mask of being okay when we're around others. I would hazard a guess that most of us were taught to be good, be helpful, put others first, don't be too much, don't be selfish. And we weren't really taught to sit with our own pain, let alone to do it in the company of others. I mean, if I had $1 for every time I said, good, thanks, when someone asked me how I was in the first year or so after my son died, well, I wouldn't be asking you to toss a couple of coins in my duct tape fund at Buy Me a Coffee, because I'd be rich and writing this from a beach on the coast of Greece. We also weren't taught to say no without beating ourselves up with guilt. And we often don't place the same value on our own needs as we place on everyone else's. So when we finally do break down and try to choose ourselves, it feels like we're doing something wrong, selfish even. That discomfort, sometimes it comes from a place of what psychologists call pro-social conditioning, which can be tied to being raised in families or communities where selflessness is equated with being a good person. Or it can stem from feeling like being who or what others wanted you to be, or looking after others' needs was the way you earned love or approval. Or maybe your safety or belonging felt tied to how well you cared for others. Regardless of where that internal belief came from, though, social conditioning is deeply rooted in our anthropological DNA. It's part of our evolutionary wiring. Thousands of years ago, survival literally depended on being accepted by our tribe. And there was very real danger if we deviated from our tribe's norms and expectations. After all, getting kicked out of the tribe meant being alone and a very real possibility that you'd die. We're still born with that same software in our brains. And just because being excluded isn't likely to mean death anymore, our brain, they really haven't caught up yet. It still treats disconnection or the fear of people not liking or accepting us like danger. We're just wired to care what people think of us. This automatic, hardwired emotional conditioning to be people pleasers and constantly seek approval can be especially strong in women because our role has traditionally been that of caretakers and nurturers, but everyone has it. Even the club-toting alpha males heading out to kill a woolly mammoth were doing it as their role in taking care of the tribe and to be viewed as masculine enough to attract a mate. So, cool side, did you know that the same region of the brain that's activated when you feel physical pain, I'm not going to bother to mispronounce the name of the area for you, but if you're a brain science nerd without any kind of credentials like me, the acronym is DACC. So that area of your brain is also activated when you feel social rejection or loss. And scientists think that might explain why, as language evolved for humans, we started to describe social pain using physical pain language. For example, hurt feelings. And trauma survivors can also really struggle deeply with social conditioning, possibly because the behaviors of approval seeking and people pleasing might have been strongly tied to physical or physiological safety. Now let's talk about why not choosing yourself sometimes isn't just a form of self-neglect. It's harmful to your emotional, mental, and physical well-being, and why. Stepping up and choosing to honor your own self-care is neurologically necessary. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't keep giving your best self to others if you don't fill up your own cup from time to time. That includes adequate and sometimes additional rest, activities that give you pleasure, some support of your own, and space to heal. Not just after you hit a wall and start feeling the signs of compassion fatigue, and I'll talk more about that in just a second. When you constantly put yourself before others and suppress your own needs, you make your brain a very unhappy camper. Burying your own needs activates your amygdala, your fight, flight, or freeze response, which is your internal fear and stress response, which basically clubs your prefrontal cortex over the head and knocks it out. It increases your cortisol levels and plays havoc with other hormones, which in turn weakens your immune system. And it causes an override in your prefrontal cortex. You know, the part of your brain that your amygdala just knocked out? That's where logic, planning, and decision making and your memory live and work. So always looking after others without adequate self-care is actually linked to higher rates of anxiety, depression, and emotional burnout, as well as an experience known as compassion fatigue. And the costs of compassion fatigue to your emotional, mental, and physical health are high. Let's talk about what this can look like in real life. We'll break it down into pieces. Emotional exhaustion causes you to feel constantly drained and overwhelmed, and it can lead to you not only becoming detached from your own emotions, but also from others. You can start to feel impatient about everything and have a short fuse. You can develop anxiety or worsen it, or even just start to feel low and worry more. And severe compassion fatigue can lead to feelings of helplessness and hopelessness. Mentally, because it messes with the functioning of your prefrontal cortex, you can find it difficult to focus, hard to concentrate on tasks, difficult to make decisions, and hard to remember things. It can cause us to make mountains out of molehills, imagining the very worst possibilities, experiencing unwanted or distressing thoughts and mental images that are often blown way out of proportion. It causes sleep disturbances, which results in everything just feeling much more overwhelming. It impacts our decision-making skills because we're experiencing emotional and cognitive overload. Sometimes it makes us withdraw socially and from relationships because we either feel nobody understands what we're going through, or we're concerned that our emotional state is going to negatively impact the people we care about. And we become more susceptible to developing mental health issues or intensifying already existing ones. And chronic stress and worry impacts us physically as well. It's just plain exhausting, physically and emotionally. Stress, tension headaches are common, sore neck and shoulder pain from being physically tense all the time, and chronic overload of stress hormones like cortisol and epinephrine, which also known as adrenaline, wreaks havoc on our immune system, weakening our immune response and making us more susceptible to illness. And as I mentioned above, it can impact our sleep, which feeds back into that loop and exacerbates everything. Hey, listen, if guilt's been whispering in your ear every time you try to slow down, let me hand you a tool to shut that voice up. The Bounce Back Blueprint is my free guide to help you reclaim your energy, time, and emotional bandwidth without the shame spiral. You can grab it at transformativejourneys.ca or scroll down to the show notes. So here's another truth bomb for you. Choosing yourself sometimes is not selfish. It makes you a responsible custodian of your own resources. Let's get crystal clear here. Choosing you doesn't mean abandoning everyone else. You are not a good person because you care for and about others. You care for and about others because you're a good person. You can care for and about others and still choose to rest, to say no, to heal what's hurting inside of you, to invest in your own health, joy, peace, and recovery. Choosing yourself is not about checking out from everyone else. It's about checking in with your needs, with your limits, with your boundaries, and with your personal bandwidth. And guess what? When you model that for others, you're also giving them the gift of giving them permission to do the same. Author and family counselor L.R. Knost says, self-care is not me first. It's me too. And here's something truly beautiful and magical. Our amazing, incredible, miraculous brains are capable of rewiring and learning how to undo the damage from those habits we have internalized as our norms. Through our brain's incredible capacity of neuroplasticity, we can train our brains to come back to an improved level of homeostasis by teaching it how to better regulate the areas of our brain that get all freaked out when we feel we're upsetting or disappointing people. And homeostasis is just the process that every cell in our body uses to maintain emotional, mental, and physiological balance. Every time you choose to reframe or correct a guilt gremlin, for example, that choosing yourself means abandoning others, you create a shiny new neural pathway, a better one for your health. When you choose to practice self-compassion, you strengthen insula activity, and the insula is like a hub that integrates information from different brain areas to influence our thoughts and feelings and behaviors. And it helps tame the beast in your amygdala. So, now that you know why it's so important for you to prioritize yourself and your healing, partly but not entirely, so you can better help others, how about some practical tools and strategies to help you do it? Because you know me, I'm all about building your toolbox and filling it with real-world tools to help you cultivate resilience and improve your capacity to face life's challenges. So let's start with naming that beast. Yes, give that guilt voice a name. Give it some character and a little color. Not that the damn thing really deserves for us to give it anything, but call it the guilt gremlin. Then say, thanks for your input. I'm still going to rest, or paint, or read, or get out of the damn house for a while by myself. And we've talked about this before in previous episodes. Flip the script. Would you shame your best friend for needing time to rest or take care of themselves or heal? Exactly. No, you friggin' wouldn't, because you care about them and their well-being. So don't do it to yourself. Start using both and language. Things like, I can love others and still say no. Or I can both support others and protect my peace. Healing doesn't mean having to go on a vacation or a sabbatical or disappearing to a retreat in the Himalayas to chant with monks for a month. Make micro moments of healing. These can be, dependent on your situation and your personality, but think saying no to one more thing. Putting your phone away for an hour before bed. Going for a walk without your earbuds in. Sitting on your porch or deck and watching the sunset. Or going to a park to do it if you don't have a porch or a deck. allowing yourself to feel your feels. No guilt, no recriminations, no thinking you need to fix it. Just feel. And lastly, rename it to tame it. Replace the word selfish with sacred, because there's nothing selfish about honoring what keeps you grounded, sane, and whole. Because your peace and healing, and just you're sacred. Your peace and healing are not selfish. They are sacred. Period. If you have a notebook or paper handy, let's shift gears for a minute. I want to leave you with something to take away from this and think on. Make it kind and ask yourself, what's one small healing thing you've been putting off because it felt selfish? What would it look like to choose yourself without guilt just for one moment this week? This week we talked about why your healing isn't selfish and how important it is to choose yourself without guilt. You are not selfish for needing healing. You're human. Your healing matters, not because it makes you better for others, because you are already worthy. As we wrap up, I want you to remember, you do not have to earn your healing. You don't have to wait until everybody else is okay. And you don't need to hit rock bottom to deserve a rest. What if you started treating your own pain like it matters? What if you gave your healing the same urgency that you give everyone else's needs? Because choosing yourself doesn't mean you're self-centered. It means you're finally letting yourself matter. Thank you for being here with me today. If this episode made you breathe a little deeper or reminded you that you are allowed to take up space, I'd love for you to share it. Leave a review, send it to a friend, or help keep this podcast going by tossing a little love in the duct tape fund at buymeacoffee.com/transformative journeys. You can also come and say hi to me on Instagram at transformativejourneys.joanna. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button on your favorite platform and tap the bell icon to be notified when new episodes drop. I know summer is super busy and you don't always have time to listen to long episodes. So next week, I'll be dropping another Transformative Journeys snack episode. You don't need to earn your rest, otherwise known as fix yourself first, because we all need to be reminded to slow the hell down. Until then, this is Joanna reminding you that it doesn't matter if you fall. What matters is how well you bounce. This is Transformative Journeys. See you next time. Just wanted to throw in a disclaimer. This podcast is for entertainment and informational purposes only and should not replace the advice of a medical or mental health expert. I'm not a licensed counselor or a therapist, just a human with a mic and a story of growth and resilience. No degree, no fancy letters after my name. I'm a full-time student at the School of Hard Knocks, University of Life, where I figure I'll graduate when I take my last breath. In other words, I'm just Joanna, a fellow human being on my journey through this thing called life, and your concierge on this transformative journey.